Too many women think that fat loss means hours of cardio, cutting out carbs, and shrinking themselves into a smaller version. And as a personal trainer, I've seen how this mindset not only holds women back physically, but also mentally. The truth is that you don't lack willpower. You may just be working against your female physiology without even realizing it. So in this video, I'm going to share the 3 biggest fat loss mistakes I've seen and how learning to fuel your body and not punish it is the real path to feeling strong, confident, and in control. Let's get into it. First, let me start off by saying that the relationship that you have with your body is unique, and it's also very personal. And it's going to change over time. And I think that a big part of life is just learning how to go with the flow as we enter and exit different seasons. So if you're looking to embark on a fat loss phase, I really hope that you can do it from a place of self-love and appreciation for all this wonderful meat suit can do and all of the journeys and experiences it can take us through. Because the reality is we just have this one body and we got to take care of it. The first mistake I see a lot of women make is not prioritizing resistance training in their workouts. And the goal during any fat loss phase should be to maintain as much lean body mass as possible, because it's that metabolically active tissue that will keep the largest part of your metabolism, your basal metabolic rate, high. Let's double click on that point for a second. What is the metabolism, and what does resistance training have to do with it? First, let's define some terms. Metabolism, also known as the metabolic equation, is a series of processes that take place within the body, touching everything from the digestion of your food to the energy expended during exercise, and even to the amount of calories burned at rest. The last point, amount of calories burned at rest, is known as your BMR, basal metabolic rate. The BMR makes up the largest portion of the metabolic equation, at roughly 70%, and is tied to the energy your body consumes just to survive. The body requires energy to think, breathe, thermoregulate, blink, and circulate blood. Even if you were to spend a day entirely still, the processes running in the background to keep you alive would continue to burn calories. And you can influence the amount of calories burned at rest through the kind of training you do. When you engage in weightlifting, or resistance training in general, you build muscle and strength. Muscle is metabolically active tissue, meaning it's costly for the body to maintain. It requires more calories just to have around. So by adding more muscle mass to your frame, you are increasing the amount of calories the body burns at rest. During a fat loss phase, combining resistance training with sufficient protein gives the body the signal to hang on to lean body mass. It keeps the largest portion of the metabolism high, protects your bones, and can help regulate the hormonal system. So if you're completely new to this, or you are entering your fat loss phase, I recommend that you do resistance training or weightlifting at least 2 times a week. And this can really be however you prefer. As long as you're challenging the body mechanically with some kind of outside stimulus, it can be bands, it can be weights, TRX. And not only will resistance training keep your body strong, but it will also protect your future ability to lose weight. And you can choose to incorporate resistance training however you see fit. If you have resistance bands at home, that's a great place to start. Or if you are going to a gym, then dumbbells or a barbell also work lovely. But the idea to keep in mind is that the last few reps of whatever exercise you're doing should be really, really difficult. And I would be remiss if I didn't touch on the idea of toning, which I know is a very popular word in the marketing space for female fitness. And let me just squash that bug right now. There's no such thing as toning a muscle, all right? Muscles only ever either grow or shrink. And I think where this idea of toning came about is that it sounds really nice and makes for good marketing material, but to tone a muscle means to define it, or what I think that they mean to say is to define a muscle. And for that to happen, you need to apply some kind of mechanical stimulus to the muscle, put it under pressure so that it breaks down and then comes back, grows stronger. So you're growing your muscles if you want to tone them. The definition part, I think, comes around how much fat you have covering that muscle and how much you can see the definition of the muscle. So the two go hand in hand, but I would like you to focus on preserving your future self, in this case, during your fat loss phase, by keeping that lean body mass as priority. So focus on resistance training and focus on the next 2 habits that I'm going to mention to keep muscle as a top priority. You don't want to lose that muscle mass. Also, because resistance training is what gives your body shape. So you can weigh the same at 2 different points in your life, but look completely different depending on what the body composition is. And this has been my experience as a personal trainer and also as a human and a woman living life, that I have weighed the same amount, but depending on how much in each of those phases I have prioritized resistance training, I've looked very different. So often when I ask my clients, does the weight on the scale really matter, or do you want to change how you look or how your clothes fit or how you feel in your body? And often the case is that the latter is more important to them. So this is, again, coming back full circle, where resistance training comes into play. Because by lifting weights or choosing to expose your muscles to mechanical stress, you're giving your body shape. Sculpted shoulders and a round booty and nice shapely legs all come from lifting weights or from making your body move regularly. Not to mention, there's also the knock-on effects that I have seen personally and with my clients of increased confidence, increased energy, a higher metabolism, better sex life, better sleep, better skin. The list goes on. So please, wrapping up this point, number 1, prioritize resistance training in your workouts. If you happen to be completely new to resistance training and don't know where to start, I got you covered. I have a 6-week program over on my website called Get Aligned Strength, which is filled with 15-minute full body workouts that cover the main movement patterns, such as the squat, the press, the push-up, the hinge, the lunge. So all you need is 1 to 2 kettlebells and a little bit of space on the floor, and you can get fit in just 15 minutes a day. I will link to that full program in the description box below. And at the risk of tooting my own horn with that program, I chose the kettlebell because it's a single piece of equipment and it's also quite beginner friendly. So it's a nice compact shape that lends itself well to learning moves like the squat, deadlift, and the press. And once you feel comfortable with them from the security of your own home, you can transpose the same movement patterns into the gym, loading them with heavier weights on a barbell or with dumbbells. And it's important that you continue to progress the movement pattern with either weight or a more difficult version so that you can continue to build strength and shape in your body. All right, fat loss mistake number 2 is too drastic of a cut too quickly. And I completely understand the temptation here that maybe you found yourself in a season of life where other things have taken front seat and you are not happy with how you look, or you feel uncomfortable or like a stranger in your own body. And so the reaction to this can be to flip the game, turn the tables, and just say, I want to cut everything out and try to get back to how I think I should look or how I think I should feel as soon as possible. And I want to urge you against this, because going back to how I started the video, we want to take a long-term approach to this, take a long-term time horizon, because we just have this one body. We got to take care of it because it's our vessel to navigate this life. And we want it to work well. So I recommend that you zoom out and look at this with a long-term approach. Small changes over a long enough time horizon equal big results. And it's lasting behavioral change, sustainable change that we're after. I'd like to take a step back from fat loss for a moment and consider the larger picture. We are the product of our behaviors. How we look and feel are just symptoms of what we do, how we eat, sleep, think, and move. So if we want lasting change, we need to keep behavior in mind. After all, it was our choices and behavior that got us where we are, for better or for worse, and it's making changes to said habits that will get us out. If you're unsure where to start, just pose the question to yourself. Does this food fill me with energy or drain me of it? Does this style of training make me feel strong and capable, or does it deplete me? Does this activity serve the larger goal of becoming my healthiest self? It may take some time and practice, but if you just continue to stack good decisions, you'll be moving in the right direction. Remember, there is no end date for becoming the best version of yourself, but there's also no better time than now to start practicing the behaviors that the best future version of you has already mastered. What I try to avoid and what I urge my clients to avoid is this yo-yo effect, that if you take a drastic approach to get to X result, then the changes that you made to get there are going to be the kind of changes that you have to keep to stay there. And once you reach it, if you revert to your old behavior, you're going to revert to your old look or your old lifestyle. Instead, I think it's much healthier physically, the science also backs it, and mentally, to make little tweaks over a long enough time horizon, continue living your life, and before you know it, 6 months or a year will have gone by and you'll be unrecognizable physically and mentally. So if you are into numbers, then I recommend first tracking a week of your eating using an app like MyFitnessPal to see what your maintenance calorie level intake is before you make any changes. And then from that week of tracking, you can try to decrease or find yourself in a deficit of between 10 to 15%. So if, for example, your maintenance calorie level intake is 2,000, then you're looking to decrease by about 300 to 350 calories a day. And that may sound very slight, and that's exactly the idea, is that, as I said, small changes over a long enough time horizon equal big results, because it's behavioral change, not just aesthetic improvements, that I think we're after. And these small behavioral changes can come from things as simple as swapping out the kind of dressing that you use on your salad, opting for water instead of soda at lunch, or maybe instead of snacking on a handful of nuts, you choose to opt for skyr or a high-protein yogurt. Little swaps like this throughout the day, as I said, will snowball and give you big results over time. And one more quick point on this for my ladies watching, which I hope is the target audience, is that it's important to remember that your fat loss is not exclusively tied to your diet, that there are a lot of other factors in play that will predict whether you hold on to or release body fat. Because as women, we have very complex hormonal systems. We go through cycles throughout the month and also throughout our life. And during those different periods, we can have a propensity to store body fat or to have an easier time letting it go. So some other things that you might want to consider outside of what you're eating is the amount of caffeine you're consuming and when you're consuming it. If you are on some sort of birth control, because this can have a huge effect on where and how much body fat you store, whether you drink alcohol and at what time of day, and if you're drinking it closer to bedtime, how that may have an impact on your sleep. And sleep is by far the biggest lever. I would say maybe sleep and diet are the biggest levers for your body composition. Just taking a holistic approach that yes, your diet is one factor in the equation, but stress, caffeine, sleep, hormones also impact your unique female formula. And rounding out our list today, fat loss mistake number 3 that I see a lot of women make is consuming an insufficient amount of protein. And I'm saying this both in the video, but also to myself, because I think for a long time I was under eating protein. It's also the thing I think a lot of my female clients struggle with, because unless you have actively tracked it, you may not have an idea of how much you're eating. And I want to say confidently that I think you're also not eating enough. If you are a numbers gal, I really recommend that you track how much you're eating, how much protein you're eating over the course of a week, and try to stick between 1.5 and 2 grams of protein per kilo of body weight. So if you weigh around 130 pounds or about 60 kilograms, you're going to want to try to get upwards of 120 grams a day. That's a lot. For reference, 1 egg is about 6 grams. Let's let that sink in. And the reason I put this on the list is because protein is, first, it's a major building block of our bodies. It's an essential macronutrient. It's also the thing that's going to prevent you from breaking down lean body mass, which, as I said in point number 1, we work so hard to build in the gym. It's also the thing that's going to keep your body composition, juicy. Like, there's fat loss and there's fat loss. It's important to define different kinds of fat loss as well, because you can lose weight in very different ways. There's good weight loss and bad weight loss. And by that I mean, you can lose 10 kilograms of weight and have it be comprised mostly of lean body mass, or 10 kilograms of weight and have it be mostly of fat. And the end result for those two scenarios is going to look drastically different. So the tips I'm covering in today's video are trying to lean us more towards this side of the equation, losing more fat than lean body mass. Because, as I said, it's the lean body mass that keeps our metabolism high, it keeps our body healthy, it gives us shape, and it will protect our future ability to lose fat in the future. Also, if you prioritize protein at each meal, I think you'll also find that your satiety levels increase, the amount of how full you feel after each meal will increase, and it will help curb your cravings for subsequent meals later on. my regimen over the last 2 years is really making an effort to prioritize protein first at each meal. It doesn't have to be exclusively from meat sources. You have high protein yogurt, you have eggs, you have different lentils, chickpeas, beans. There's many different diverse sources you can get your protein from. And I think it was this point in particular that has had the biggest impact on how I look and how I feel. When I started prioritizing protein at each meal and trying to get upwards of 100 grams a day, my physique and my mood and my energy completely transformed. I'm sharing it because I care about you and I really want you to feel your best. I want you to feel strong and just courageous to take on the world and in control of your body. Because there are so many things that happen out there in life that are outside of our control, and I want you to feel equipped with the tools that you need to control the controllable. And your sleep and your food and your movement are all within your control. And within the movement pillar, this is one I really recommend that you try focusing on and just watch how it makes you feel. I look forward to hearing how it impacts you. On that point, I will also link down below a few of my favorite channels for amazing women on the interwebs who are cooking up delicious and nutritious high protein meals. If you want to learn how to make them from home, I think it's a nice life skill. It's something I've been working on the last few months to hone, because you can go out to eat, but that shit gets expensive, and it's nice to know how to cook for yourself. So check out those channels down below. Also, a few blog posts I have found with just good food prep, high protein food prep. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more, then click here to see a sample week of my workouts, where I include voiceovers to each of my resistance training days so that you can get a little bit of insight to the method behind my madness. I'm wishing you a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll catch you back here very soon. Ciao.